so it's just maybe like 10 years ago, we were in Nashville and hung out with Chavo Guerrero, had a fun night. Got to share a lot of stories, and definitely a night I'll never forget.
Hey, Keith, was that Chavo Jr. or Chavo Classic?
Chavo Jr.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Yeah, Chavo is great, and he's still very involved. One of the things he's involved in is Wow Women of Wrestling, which is a really cool thing. It hasn't been, they do it seasonal, so they'll be coming back. It's out of L.A. Jeannie Buss, owner of the Lakers, is one of the owners. David McClain from the original Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Glow, it's his pet project too. Mark Cuban, Access TV, they're on Access TV. It's really cool. And Chavo was out there working with them, training them. And then Chavo worked on the film The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling when they went to Netflix. He trained all the wrestlers for that series that they put on there too. Chavo, he's doing a lot. He still does a lot and all. He's very cool guy. Very famous wrestling family too.
Oh yeah. I mean, Eddie Guerrero was unbelievable back in the day, and obviously a tragedy what happened to him.
Yeah, but I bet Chavo could really give you some really cool stories too. You got to share with you about Eddie and all.
Yeah, it was a fun night.
All right, Keith, did you ever dress up as a wrestler for fun as a kid and or for Halloween?
Yeah, I was Sting pretty much every year. I had my I had the mask that I bought at one of the events, and I still wish I had it to this day. And then I made a black bat, and I wrote NWO in white spray paint. It was I had like the long trench coat. I used to go around all the time, and not even on Halloween I would wear it a lot of the times. Just friends were over and put it on and scare people. So it was something I was definitely always had on.
For Halloween as an adult, did you ever dress up as a wrestler?
You know what? I haven't. I probably should. I'm gonna maybe next year. The thing is, the guys are so young now; they don't even know who they are.
That's
probably.
True.
So I have to explain to everyone.
Do you have any favorites now?
Like current guys?
Yeah, I know John Cena is doing a lot more movies these days and TV, and he's becoming very successful, popular there. And he's another Massachusetts guy. But I don't know if anybody lately or in the last few years that you saw and were like, oh, he's really cool, I like him. Or her.
Yeah, definitely. I know Cena gets a lot of, he gets a lot of love and hate, but I'm definitely a huge Cena guy, just having the connection of going to the same high school and being a Massachusetts guy. So he's probably been my favorite as of late.
And Cena went to the Cushing Academy, right?
Yep.
And that's also where Keith went. And while John was starring in football years earlier, then Keith went and starred in hockey. And tell us just a little bit about the Cushing Academy, because that's a very prestigious school, what I was reading, for academics and athletics, correct?
Yeah, it's a boarding school out in Western Mass. I believe Cena's from around that area.
On the bio, it says West Newbury, Keith.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a boarding school where you go and you live there, you spend your time with their students and student athletes, and definitely my greatest memories is going there. And I think as an athlete, it got me to where I am now, and as a person as well. And I enjoyed my time there probably just as much as he did. Funny story, I was at I forget what event it was. It was in Arizona, and I was sitting on the front row, and Cena came out. I think he fought Kane that night, and Cena was walking by, and I was like, Cena, Cushing Academy, and he looked at me, didn't know who I was at all, and just gave me some knuckles, just out of respect that maybe he knew that I knew where he went to high school.
That is so great. That is so great. And it's funny because, but you played, that's right, because you played in Arizona. You were with the Arizona Coyotes, correct? So you played out there, so you're able to see some events get to see some shows out there. But when did you find out Cena went to the same school you did? Was that after you were there or while you were there you found out that he was also from there?
Yeah, so when I was there from 2002 to 2005, so that was kind of during his rise and stuff. So it was definitely something that everybody in the school took pride in him being there, and he took pride in being an alumni. He always came back, and whether it was giving speeches at graduation or sending videos, he was just the guy that always represented the school the right way, and a proud alumni.
Keith, did he speak at your graduation?
Well, I never graduated, so no.
No.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey, what have you been watching during the pandemic, as far as wrestling-wise goes?
I've just been, me and my buddies have been doing we've been doing once a week where we just go back and, so we get 15 of us, and we get 2 members each, and we watch an old, we watch the old, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank, sorry.
That's all right. In some of the WWF old school pay-per-views, like in your house, or some of the classics.
Yeah. So we'll watch the. Oh my God, why can't I think of the one that they're all in the ring?
Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So we watch all the old Rumbles, and we pick members, and we just like gamble. I mean, some of us know the outcome of who's going to win, but we just go back and watch. So we watch from like 93 on, and so we all pick members, and you pick members out of the hat, and those are the two wrestlers that you get, and we gamble a little money on it, and it's just something to kind of chat about.
Well, let me tell you something. That doing that, it's so much fun, because you don't picking it out of the hat it gives everybody a fair advantage with that. Have you won any?
I have. I won the more recent one. It was the one where Brock Lesnar, he was like he was throwing people out left and right, and he didn't end up winning it. I mean, we've watched so many; they're all kind of like they're all kind of intertwining in my brain right now. But it was the one where Brock Lesnar was going crazy. Oh, it was who won? It was I can't even think right now.
Seth Rollins? I'm trying to think who might have won. Seth Rollins or Kevin Owens? No?
I think it was Seth. Was it Seth Rollins? It might have been.
That is.
I can look it up and text it to you.
That is so cool. Yeah, do that. Please do that, because that'll be great and all as well. Hey, Keith, are there other Panthers players that are pro wrestling fans?
You know what? There's not too many anymore. I think maybe 1 or 2 guys. I think a lot of the guys are so young that they were kind of, there's guys who were born in the late 90s now, and, when, their era was kind of when maybe it was, the WWE was kind of in a little bit of a funk where, people weren't as engaged as they were in, my era, and, but I've definitely had some teammates. I had one teammate, his name was Jason LaBarbera, and we called him the Beefcake after Brutus the Beefcake Barber. So he was a fun guy to always watch matches with and chat about it.
And that is so great and all. So basically you're watching it with your friends. Now, you mentioned about the Royal Rumble marathons and all, the binge watching. So that's more or less something you've done for a long time with your friends.
Yeah, exactly. One of my good friends down here is Mike Patino. His dad's Rick Patino, and he's big into it. So he's another guy that we always, if something's on, we'll watch it together and get some good banter going.
We're talking about the famous college basketball coach?
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my God, that is so cool. I know you guys. It's like. For you, it's just normal and everything like that. When you hear something like that from me, I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool. You know what's funny? We're not going to tangent away from the wrestling. We'll finish this up. But what's so cool too about, you mentioned Mike and then his dad Rick. I believe Rick, and this is not a secret or anything, but I think Rick owns horses and has been in big horse racing events and all. And I'm just curious, Keith, and if not, I mean, it's, again, I'm not saying anything out of turn here, but have you ever gone to one of the races then, a horse racing, when Rick had a horse in it, or no?
I went to the Derby last year, and he had a horse in the Oaks Day, which is the day before. But yeah, I've been to a bunch. I'm a big horse racing guy, so I've been to a bunch of races. But I've been to the Derby and I've been to the Belmont Stakes. So I just gotta get the Preakness out of the big one. But other than that, me and my buddies go to Saratoga every summer to go watch the horses up there, and then even here at Pegasus is a fun one. So there's definitely a lot of. I'm a big horse racing guy, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really a lot of fun. Did you get to go a little bit behind the scenes, so to speak, when you were out the day before the Derby, and then go to the Derby the next day because you had the connection with the family and the horse?
Yeah, well, we actually at the Derby 2 years ago, we actually got to walk the horse out to the field, which was amazing. From from his stable out to the where they walk into the thing. So that was pretty cool. That was with Vinny Viola. Vinny Viola had his horse in Vino Rosso. So that was an unbelievable day, and definitely something I'll never forget.
Keith, you could write a book.
I know, yeah.
I mean, obviously it'll be hockey, but there's so much more. It's like you peel back the layers of Keith Yandle. It's like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Yeah.
All right, Keith. I appreciate this so much time. I've got a few more questions to throw here because it's so cool and all. What Panther player would make a good pro wrestler?
Ooh, who would make a good one? I'd probably say maybe go Aaron Ekblad. I think he'd be a good villain. He's a guy that I think he could get a lot of people to. I think Aaron could get a lot of guys to, a lot of fans to not like him and get under people's skin. So I think he'd be a good guy.
How about in the whole NHL? Is there anyone that stands out in the whole NHL that you'd say, like, oh, okay, that guy right there could be a good pro wrestler?
I mean, I'd probably just go with the obvious with Ryan Reeves, just being a big, big, scary, tough guy. But he's good on the mic. I think he'd be a guy that'd be unbelievable. I don't know him personally and all, but just watching his interviews, just knowing how comfortable he is with the mic, and then how big and strong, and how much of a force he is. Yeah, I bet he'd probably be the best guy in the NHL to be a good wrestler.
Keith, how could you do on the mic?
I'd be good on the mic, and then as soon as I'd be like a Heyman type guy. That would be my dream, is like the Paul Bearer, Heyman type guys, where I'm good on the mic and then just let somebody else wrestle.
Oh yeah, Heyman's the best. Heyman, I mean, as far as wrestling, man, you mentioned two of them, Paul Bearer and them. Paul Bearer, I don't know if you got to see any old wrestling stuff back in the day, because when he was Percy Pringle out in Texas, Paul Bearer was great in that character too, heel manager type, and then he transformed into Paul Bearer with the Undertaker. Just seeing how he could do that too. It says a lot about them when they can parlay success in different types of characters. Like Paul Heyman's always been Paul Heyman, and he's the best. But when you see someone like Paul Bearer, and then you see a Percy Pringle, and it's the same person, you're like, oh my God, just look at that.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. But he was. I remember like specifically where I was when the first time I saw him, when he came out with Undertaker, and then when he had King, and it was like his whole everything about when he would carry the ashes. It was just like his whole what he brought to those guys. It just being the heels manager, it was amazing.
He had that white type face paint that made him look dead, and you're right, he carried the ashes in the urn, and just the way he spoke too.
Yeah.
Wait, do it again. One more time, Keith.
Yeah.
Yes! Nailed it!
Yeah.
that was just so theatrical. There's so much theatrics, though, too, that go into professional wrestling. When people say, oh, you watch this, it's like, look, you watch TV shows, you watch a movie, you get hooked. That's what it's like, a soap opera. You get hooked to it, and then it's athleticism as well. It is so cool. Hey, is Chris Bork and the Bork family wrestling fans?
Yeah, well, I know Chris is. He was definitely a guy when we were younger. We would always watch it and talk about it. I don't know about Ray, but definitely Chris. But you know what, Ray's a guy who enjoys good entertainment and good athleticism, so I'm sure he definitely watches, or used to.
How big a fan is Panthers great Roberto Luongo and his family?
Yeah, he's a huge fan. Lou is a guy that, I miss having him in the locker room every day talking about it, but he's a big fan. I think he went to a show over the summer. He sent me a picture. A guy that I think he's even made friends with a bunch of guys, so he's definitely a big fan. He'd be a good wrestler too. He'd be good on the mic.
And he has a good look too. I think so. He has a really good look. You're right.
He's got the slick back hair. He's got the he almost looks like the old school, the 80s and 90s. Whether it's Scott Hall or Kevin Nash, there's that look going.
The Scott Hall is perfect. That's exactly what I was thinking about. Sort of a cross between a Razor Ramon and an NWO Scott Hall is Roberto Luongo.
Yeah, with the toothpick in his mouth. So he'd be good at that.
And you're right. Roberto Luongo did a segment actually with the Singh brothers during one of the shows, which is really funny. And all right, so what do you think? How does Luongo score those primo tickets? Because him and his family are always like front row or right there.
I mean, because he is who he is.
That's it. Yes, exactly.
That's one of the perks of being an athlete. You can make a phone call and get the front row tickets. And if you haven't seen a wrestling match up close like that, it is amazing how good they like. Being that close to them and seeing them and the way that they're able to figure out a match and make it entertainment is amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And watching it on TV is one thing, but seeing it live is just so incredible. It's just the crowd. Well, now we're not seeing any crowds because of the pandemic, but when they have the crowds and all, it's just really cool and everything to do that. All right, we're wrapping this up.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Do you ever think, Keith, that you and Luongo would make a good tag team in pro wrestling?
Yeah, it would be awesome.
If you're not Keith, even if you're not wrestling, you could be the Paul Heyman to the Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, Roberto Luongo.
Yeah, we'd be. But you know what? I think even if we were in the ring, we had a good chemistry, good friends. So I think we'd have a lot of fun, and I think we'd be able to. Especially there, you can take on a different character, and I think we'd both find our niche and be able to execute it.
That's the thing, Keith. I don't know for you what character would be your niche, because I'm reading over the pandemic and before doing the interview and things like that. You're a funny guy. I never knew that because I don't get to interact with you guys. I don't cover the Panthers per se, so I don't get to interact with the team and everything like that and all. But I know you as an all-star. I know you as this great defenseman who can also set up goals and score and do his job on defense. And then I'm like, he's a funny guy. I'm like, I'm thinking, well, if he was serious, Keith, then I could see him being this just serious technical wrestler and then give I'm better than everybody else and the heel character and do something like that. But then I hear you're funny too. So then I'm trying to think, well, I don't know. So what do you think? What type of persona do you think you would take as a wrestler?
Yeah, see, I mean, my dream would to be take on a character like Undertaker or Sting, but those guys, just the way that they live, you've definitely seen it in Undertaker, is, he embodied that 24/7, so that would be kind of tough for me. But it would be cool to be the bad guy, to be, someone that gets under people's skin. So I mean, obviously I respect Ric Flair and everything that he did, but I was never like a huge fan just because he was a little too like, like that too cocky where, everything was about him. And maybe that's just from coming from playing a team sport. For me, I'd have a tough time doing that. So I think maybe if I could take on somewhat of a role as like Undertaker or Kane, Sting, I'd definitely wear a mask to know who I was.
Well, goalies have it made because they get to wear a mask every night. That is so
yeah.
Luongo gets to wear a mask all the time when he was playing it, with that and all. And then you know what? The heel and the bad guys have so much more fun. I talk to many of wrestlers, and when talking with them, they've all bounced back and forth between the baby face, the good guy, and the heel, the bad guy. And they say, oh, yeah, 99% will say, oh, it's so much more fun being the heel and just going out there and cutting a promo and just ripping everybody and doing that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I also like the team aspect, like when NWO was big and the Wolfpack and those guys. Like I like that kind of feel too. So I'd probably, it'd be me, Lou, and we'd have to get some other guys to join our squad. Maybe
Ekblad.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Turn on us,
right? You got to have some guys, though, that don't know what's going on. None to mention any names. We're not mentioning any names. But I just meant, like, you got to get some guys that don't know what's going on and are going to follow everybody, too. So you need those type of...
Exactly.
And there and all. And this is so much great. Well, we're wrapping this up. This is the final question here. I'm going to make a comment. Keith, the comment is, because NWO, you mentioned NWO was going to be going into the WWE Hall of Fame, but because of the pandemic, they had to cancel all the WrestleMania week activities. So we don't know when that's going to happen, but it will happen, and that's going to be a big deal. Maybe next year's WrestleMania, or maybe they'll do it at SummerSlam. Who knows, whenever things get back to normal. But that'll be cool to see the NWO being inducted into WWE's Hall of Fame. All right, I'm going to wrap this up with this. The Panthers are in the NHL playoffs when hockey resumes, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so here it is. Will you be ready, Keith, to lay the smackdown on those Islanders? Not the Samoan wrestling ones, but rather the NHL kind from New York.
Oh yeah, we're going to be ready. We're going to, bring out all the wrestling terms for that one. We'll be ready to go to lay the smackdown.
Yes. And thank you so much, Keith, for taking the time. I had so much fun doing this. I'm glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for calling.